Hey, it's Zach, and I'm back with another episode of Elevate and Accelerate. And today I am sitting down with our senior content producer, again, Ryan Ruff. Really excited about today's topic, where I feel like we've been getting a lot of questions or having a lot of conversations around this idea of social media, how to best leverage social media in your business, and even where to look and what to be looking for. And so today, specifically, we're going to be diving into this question of why hire a media company to run your social media, which may seem obvious, but we're gonna unpack that a little bit and see what people might be looking for, might not be looking for, and what you should be looking for. So, Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today, man. Really excited to have you on again.
Yeah, no, thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. I like the seat. It's fun to be a recurring guest and talk social media because it's such a big topic that a lot of business owners need to focus on, should be focusing on. But look, I get it. You've got a business to run, and most of the time social media can be one of those little bullet points that fall to the back burner. But boy, is it important to be talking about it. So happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, man. Look, you bring a great perspective and a lot of insights. Just given your track record, your history, of being an anchor, running your own shows, producing content, generating content, executing content, and then obviously doing that for us as well. For our clients over and over again, week in, week out. So you just have a really great perspective. So I love talking with you about that. So I mean, here's the topic at hand, right? And it's this idea of why should somebody, business owner, small to medium business owner, hire a media company to run their social media? Now, we are a media company, which is why we're in this conversation and having that conversation.
Yeah.
But what we do is we help to tell people's stories, right? And that's a lot of what Elevate and Accelerate is around. But I would just love to hear, like, right off the top, in your opinion, like, why would somebody hire a media company over a marketing company when it comes to handling their social media?
Yeah, I mean, there's two schools of thought really when it comes down to, and it's not as simple as quantity versus quality. It's not as even though we'd like it to be a simple solution to the social media issue for so many businesses. But really, what it comes down to is the who. Who do you want your social media to reach? And when it reaches them, how do you want it to reach them and engage with them? A marketing company, for example, as opposed to, leveraging a media company, a marketing company is going to go out there and they're going to make sure that you're, posting daily, just for the sake of pure traffic, on social media feeds. But I don't know about you, Zach, or even our audience, but I scroll through social media from time to time. While yes, we work in it, we create content for it, I'm a consumer of it as well. And when I scroll through it, when I see the National Pizza Day posts where, let's say, your business decided to go out and get a pizza, have a little mini pizza party and take some pictures of it for your social media, I am scrolling past that in about a third of a second. That's how little I care about something like that. Marketing companies out there in today's day and age are pushing content for the sake of pushing content. And so, okay, let's say you're doing that. Well, then what is that really doing for your audience? It's not really providing a ton of value. It's not really showing your audience, hey man, if you come back to this social media channel or feed, you're going to get value. You're going to feel connected to our brand. You're going to feel connected to the business. It's not really doing a whole lot other than simply being a blip on the radar for your consumers. Whereas if we turn the focus and we look towards a media company to work with you on your social media, now we're talking about strategic, authoritative content that positions you or your business as experts that you are and allows you to really showcase that expertise and that knowledge and those differentiating factors that separate you from the rest of the pack or the competition, why you bring a high level of value to your clients. So all in all, Zach, what I'm doing with our clients that in order to leverage, authoritative content is we're drilling deep into some content topic ideas. We have strategy meetings to talk about, okay, what's really going to resonate with your target audience? Is it a timely topic right now? Maybe given some things that are happening in the market landscape or just society as a whole. Is it a topic that is a home run because you know it like the back of your hand and it's what you built your business off of? So the quality of content, I know it's not as simple as a quantity versus quality conversation, but if we're really going to boil it down, it can be with regard to hiring a media company versus a marketing company. It all comes back to the quality content that when somebody engages with it on your social media feed, they're going to feel like they got value and they're going to want to come back for more.
So I think one of the things that most business owners are really concerned with a lot of times is the level of investment for their return, right? The ROI. Like what do I have to outlay in order to get back what I want? And the biggest measurable when it comes to social media is leads. That's what people are really focusing on, or that's what they're bringing to the conversation most of the time. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is what I've said before is like don't put the leads cart before the content horse, right? And as a business owner, it makes sense. Like I need leads to grow my business. So if I have X number of leads, then it equals X number of sales. So I need Y number of leads in order to equal a higher number of sales, right? And so that's the process. So it's like, where do I find leads? Where do I find leads? Where do I find leads? And that's like, that's the mentality. And so a lot of times business owners then will go to a marketing agency and say the very same thing. I need to find leads and I want to find them on social media because I know I'm not leveraging it and I know that I need to be leveraging it. And so they're like, all right, great. What's your advertising budget? And they're like, well, no, that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm not looking to advertise. I just want to generate more leads, right? And so now you have a marketing company running your content just to your point, where it's like, it's drivel and dross, like all the time of just this sort of very vanilla. Let's say it that way. It's going to be very vanilla type of content that they're putting out onto your social media. At best, they're going to try to duplicate your voice and put some expertise in there and some other things. But at the end of the day, it's not your voice. And it may even be things that you haven't said. I mean, we've had a marketing company running our social media before, posting things that, was like, well, I probably wouldn't say that. I would say something different. Right.
Yeah, no, and when you are focused on the leads and when you're focused on the ROI, now we're putting the concept and the conversation of the quality of content on the back burner because we're
Mm.
solely focused on numbers and metrics and we're driving towards that ROI where if and look, I'm not pointing fingers, but I think there's a contingency of business owners that once they hire that marketing company to take that approach for them, they're like, good, done, out of sight, out of mind. At least I
Yeah.
have something happening. And then they go on and there's no real value for you, the business owner and your business that comes out of that, but also no value to your clientele or your prospects out there. The prospects want to see you. They want to see what
Yeah.
you have to say and what you have to share. And yeah, putting that I like that cart before the horse analogy is good because it's true.
Yeah, and that leads us to the other part of this then too is like, well, if you really are so concerned about getting leads, then you really are talking about advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's different. That's different than content. You're paying to get leads, and that's a different process. And quite honestly, it's an expensive process, but it's an effective process if your primary goal is just to go out there and get as many leads as you can,
Yeah.
right? And so even ourselves, right? I mean, we do all of our own content, we have our own stuff, but we're working with an agency who's handling the advertising side of things that we do. Now, I'll tell you, it's been months in the making. And we know our message, we know our content, we know our people, we know all this kind of stuff. But still, there is a level of um, growth that needs to happen with you and that agency. And so you're paying them on a retainer, you're
Mm-hmm.
paying advertising fees on top of that, and you're testing and retesting and testing and testing and retesting until you finally get a system. And so you may be out thousands of dollars before you even start seeing any of those leads. And then you've got to work on the quality of leads. They might not even be the qualified type of leads that you're going to talk to, right? And so now you've got to go through that process. And so it's just a long process that if you don't have the financial bandwidth to sustain that for, let's say, at least 3 to 6 months before you start seeing the type of results that you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, then being able to build on it and then to scale it.
Yeah.
So on the other end of this conversation, what we're talking about is look, as a small to medium business owner, you're going to see a shift in your ability to be able to convert the leads that you're already getting, let alone being able to build organic leads or drive traffic to your social media channels and stuff just through producing good content,
Mm-hmm.
authoritative content,
Yeah.
right? So I'd be interested in your thoughts and having worked
Yeah.
with lots of clients now and sort of what your perspective is on that idea.
I'm glad you brought up qualified leads. I got two big things I want to share here. So, what makes a qualified lead? Well, someone you could say someone who needs my services. Sure, but let's get a little granular. A really qualified lead in my eyes, now that this is what I do and working with clients to create content that is going to resonate with that client's target audience, in my eyes now, a qualified lead is somebody who's already looked you up. There's somebody who've already watched your videos and engaged with your likeness, your brand, your team, even through your website, through your social media, so that when they start that conversation or start that engagement, well, they are not qualified, isn't even the right term. They are a true lead, somebody who takes probably a very low level of effort to make a sale or convert them into a client of yours, because they watched the video, they saw the thing, they looked at the website, they feel like they're already a part of your ecosystem. All that's left is to simply start their own one-to-one relationship with you. That is a qualified lead. So
Mm,
how do you get somebody to that point where when they pick up the phone, it doesn't feel like it's the first time they talk to you guys? It's through that authoritative content, Zach, that you just mentioned a moment ago. So what is that? Well, we at the Celebrity Branding Agency, and what I use with a lot of my clients, is what we call our authoritative content framework. Basically, it's a framework or a roadmap, even, that I work with clients to strategically plan out their content with them. So the framework in a nutshell goes like this. It's let's talk, what is our topic of the day? Why is this topic so important? Here are a few things we need to talk about with regard to that topic. Here's a story, maybe. Here's some takeaways.
mm,
See ya, everybody. Let's call it a day. Now, obviously, I really just simplified it and broke it down there, Zach. But what we do in my team, we sit down with the clients and we get, the phrase I use a lot, Zach, is we go an inch wide but a mile deep. So
love that.
we're really going a mile deep into this topic, because it's that depth is where your expertise is going to show itself. If you're staying at the 10,000-foot view on, let's say, a complicated topic, you're not providing real value or conveying the fact that you're even an expert on the topic. You got to get in the weeds to be able to show your expertise. So that's what we do. We create that strategic, authoritative content. So that way, when somebody's watching that video or looking at that social media post, they walk away feeling that they learned something or got some value. And also they're thinking, whoa, I mean, Zach knows his stuff. Whoa, he's not just a solution. He's like the guy. He's the
Mm,
solution to my problem. So that's my first point that I wanted to bring up there is truly what it looks like to leverage authoritative content to create that qualified lead. Second is a story that I want to share. I've been working with a client of mine, a financial advisor. Gosh, I feel like this is our third, fourth year of working together, doing this type of thing, developing authoritative content where, the first year, it was all topics that featured his expertise surrounding different wealth management topics. The second year, we started, reaching out and welcoming in some of his professional network as guests on the show. Just a lot of great stuff. Well, I was sitting down with him a few weeks ago. We were having a conversation about, planning out some future content. And he shared a story with me. And he said, Ryan, our content, I just recently, I believe, and this is him saying, I believe that a piece of our content that we developed was a key driver in me signing a new, very, high profile client to my wealth management business. I said, wow, well,
mm,
that's amazing to hear. Tell me more. How'd that happen? He said, well, there was an initial referral from his professional network. This individual, a business owner, was looking to get a second opinion or to conduct a stress test on their existing wealth management portfolio. It sounded like the level of wealth of that person was beginning to maybe outgrow their current wealth manager and financial advisor that they were working with. So at this time, the individual was referred to the client that I was working with, the wealth manager, and that individual said, "Hey, you should think about doing a stress test with this wealth manager." Well, that high profile client that eventually turned into our client's client had gone on the website, read the About Me page, learned more about our client and the wealth manager, but then stumbled across the media section on their website and saw a podcast episode entitled An Overview on Stress Testing. Well, that's what they were pointed towards. So she clicked play and she looked into the video and watched the wealth manager have a deep dive into his stress
Mm.
testing process. So when the time came, after that video was done, that high profile individual that turned into our client's client, she had an understanding of who the wealth manager was on a personal level because she saw them
Mm.
interacting, saw them sharing their experience and expertise. She got a deep understanding of what their stress testing process looks like. She clearly liked it. So she wanted to pick up the phone and call. Well, because of that online introduction via an authoritative piece of content where our client leveraged their expertise and got deep down in the weeds, a mile deep, on talking about their stress testing process. When that phone call came in to the wealth manager, it was pretty signed, sealed, delivered. So, I mean,
Mm.
I want to share that story because it is a perfect story to articulate what we're talking about here in how a qualified lead, boy, can they, it just makes the process for a business owner so much easier to sign, to get the ROI out of a social media service, to sign new clients on, and to continue to grow your business when you're creating authoritative content.
Yeah, I love that, and that's such a good story because it's a microcosm of the larger picture here. And you touched on a number of
Mhm.
different things that play a primary role in all of that, which is the fundamental answer to why somebody would want to hire a media company to handle their social media.
Mhm.
Right now, it seems obvious, like we said at the beginning, like it's called social media, so why wouldn't a media company run my social media, right? And so, what exactly is a media company? What is a media company? And I think, at least for us, we can answer that very simply in that media is a medium for sharing your story. And so, as a media company, we create opportunities within different media platforms, whether it's TV, book, videos, documentaries, whatever it might be, some sort of media um, channel that then communicates your story or the story of your clients or the story of your expertise. And so you touched on that really in this moment where that client, that high profile client, came across a piece of content,
Mhm.
and based on that video, they had all of their questions answered primarily
Mhm.
in just a few moments, because one, they got to understand who that person was, the wealth manager, right? So now you know who they are. You could figure out very quickly whether or not you like that person, right? Like we
Yeah.
start watching a video and we realize, like, I don't like the way that voice sounds. Like I was listening to a book the other day, and it was like really hard for me to even get through the first chapter because I was like, I don't like the voice of the person reading it. And like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a big deal. Like it's so trivial and so small, but it's so
Uh-huh.
true, right? And so okay, so they know you, they get to like you, and then primarily they get to trust you, because they trust that not only are you a person that I can know and that I can like, but you're also somebody who knows what they're talking about and has just laid it all out for me. Like if you're willing to give me some of your most valuable information for free in this content, then what are you going to give me when we start working together? How much more
Mhm.
do you really have to offer? Um, and that's really what we're looking for. And so why a media company should, I'm trying to get out of the sun here, you can see it. So like why would a media company be the right choice to run your social media? Well, because if you are interested in showing your audience, your target audience, who you are, so that they can know you, like you, and trust you, that's the primary objective. And who better to be able to handle that than a company or organization that tells stories for a living of people, who brings the most powerful stories to light, right? And then really helps to build some of the biggest personal brands that are even out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zach, another thought came to my mind was, in that story I shared, this high profile individual found the wealth manager that we were working with. Yes, watched that video, understood their likeness, and eventually became a client of that wealth manager because of the conversations that they had. But here's an alternative way to leverage the content. This is just a thought that I had that I've heard from another client that's really worked out. So I'm sure many of you out there, business owners, I'm sure whether it's via yourself or maybe a marketing individual, communications folk that you have on your team, send out maybe a weekly email blast or daily or monthly, something like a newsletter even. Well, one thing that's super helpful is to leverage the content that you're doing on your social media and double dip on it, like in your newsletter, like
Mm.
in those monthly email blasts. We do it. I know, Zach, I get your emails all the time, and it's episodes from this show right here because we talk about valuable conversations that those emails that you send to your list and to your folks out there that are, familiar with Zach and the brand of CBA. they're conversations that they want to hear. So why not double dip? Why not share some of those conversations there? So here's where I'm going with this. A client of mine was had a prospect reach out to them. They were interested in scheduling a consultation. This is another wealth manager. These are just easy examples that are coming to my head, but we work with clients from all sorts of industries. But another wealth manager client that I was working with had somebody reach out to him, was interested in talking about, I believe it was some asset protection planning. I think they had multiple homes and they were just interested in talking about those homes and stacking up and, and making sure that they were safe from a protection standpoint with those different properties and assets. And they reached out to our client to book a consultation. Well, look, business owners, your time is valuable. That consultation was probably a 60, 90-minute meeting, maybe. Who knows what, our client, the wealth manager, had going on throughout the rest of the week. Here's what they were able to do. They said, oh, I would love to sit down and talk with you about an asset protection plan for you. But before we get together and before we schedule that meeting, why don't you take a look at a podcast episode that I just did recently where we took a deep dive into asset protection planning. He sends them the link. And they watch the link. Now, it's not that, yes, you can get those initial benefits that I mentioned in my prior story where the individual, they get to understand your expertise, your likeness, they like your voice, and they want to pick up the phone. Well, that person already picked up the phone. So they kind of knew what was going on with our client at that point in time. But by sending that video to a qualified prospect, they were able to get a lot of those preliminary high level questions answered. So that way, when they did inevitably meet, it was much deeper conversation at the cores of their goals and why some of the planning would make sense for them. There wasn't an initial level of education that needed to happen in that process. So let your content, while it can also be a fantastic lead converter and help you also generate a relationship with prospects to qualify them, let your content do some legwork for you, because it can share some of that expertise and experience while you're in another meeting, while you're taking another call, while you're allow yourself, and because it is yourself and your content, allow yourself to help yourself down the road with content. I want to make sure I shared that.
No, yeah, and it's a great story, because at the end of the day, the primary concern, I think, is how do I grow my business and how do I leverage the tool and the power that comes from social media. And we were taught to think, or at least society shows us, that those who are successful on social media are the ones who have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. They get all these likes and all this kind of stuff. And so that's what we believe we need to emulate in order to grow our business. But the reality is the people who are doing that is their business. That is what they do. That is how they drive. And so if that's what you want to do, great. But that means that you're spending time every single day recording videos, editing those videos, or having a team who does it. And you've got to post every single day. And, it's like you've got to constantly just be doing content all the time. For most of the people that we work with, and for most people running businesses, that's not what they're interested in. They want to help people in the ways that they are capable of helping them, doing what they do best. And so how do you bridge that gap of understanding? And I think it's part of this conversation. And I think what we're getting at here is, when you're looking at leveraging social media to your benefit, it's not so much about generating any X number of leads, likes, or impressions. That's not the primary goal that you should have. If it is, then you should hire a marketing agency. You should hire an advertising agency. Like that is what they do, and that is what they should do. And then you can pay for that. If you're looking to save money, if you're looking to find a more cost-effective way to build your brand, to build your authority, to convert higher on what you're already doing in marketing, and to generate more leads as well, then you look at it from a content perspective. And if building your authority, if building your brand, if building that thought leadership is more important, and can have a higher value to you as a business owner, then a media company should be the one running your social media, because a media company is going to ensure that they capture your story, that they capture your voice, that they capture your expertise, and then they duplicate it or disseminate it out in a way that is most effective for building your authority, not just generating leads. Because let's be honest, if it's just about leads, like we could go find you a whole bunch of leads. But again, we're back to the conversation of qualified leads and all that other kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments on that, and I would be interested now in the next part of this is maybe unpacking a little bit for our audience here, um, when we're talking about popularity or power. Do you want to have a
Mm.
popular brand, or do you want to have a powerful brand? And
Mm-hmm.
even the time it takes to see a benefit of producing content. And so I'll give a couple examples, but I'd be interested on your thoughts of this as well. So if you look at some of the best content producers that are out there, or people who are doing it pretty regularly, Gary Vaynerchuk comes to mind. He's somebody who has been producing content, thousands of pieces of content for a really long time. And it really wasn't until, the popularity of the internet, of getting content online, of video platforms that were getting spun up, of all these different things that then like turned him into the brand that he is today, because the content was already there and he was leveraging it over and over again, and he didn't stop. And then it was able to blow up for him. But if you look at any of these celebrity experts, if you will, they put out really valuable, informative, and authoritative content on a very regular basis. And so the question always then becomes the chicken or the egg, right? Should I be driving leads right away, or should I be focusing on my content? Which one should come first? How do I navigate that as a business owner of where my primary focus should be? And I'd be interested on your thoughts of, how do you do that? How do you navigate that?
With leveraging content in order to grow your business, you need to be successful in the way you allocate your time and how you allocate your time. And you mentioned that golden word that started with an R a moment ago that has allowed Gary Vee to be so successful in this, and that's repurpose. So the way we work with business owners at the Celebrity Branding Agency and my team, we essentially have a monthly cycle that we're rolling content out for our clients. But what does that look like from a time commitment for the client, for the business owner that we work with? Well, on average, we take about 2 hours a month from their schedule. 1 hour to plan out a strategic month's worth of content, and the second hour to record it. And of course, that can happen on different days, for our client schedules and whatnot. But both of those hours are extremely important from a content strategy standpoint. It goes back to our earlier conversations. We want to make sure we're picking topics that we can drill down and get a mile deep into them, so that deep level of knowledge and experience and expertise can really shine through from you, the business owner. But also what that does is we talk through our different ways to repurpose that content. So what does that look like? Well, we sit down and record, Zach, we practice what we preach, Zach. We do, our team, we work with you and we help do this for you on this show. And that is, we sit down and we have a podcast episode or a piece of a long form content. So think of it like a wheel, our hub and spoke system. At its core is a long form piece of video content. Sure, when I say long form, it doesn't need to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, like a feature length movie. What I mean is it can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes even, of what we call long form content and the middle of that wheel, that hub and spoke system. But then what can we do from that to help grow additional legs and increase the longevity that 1 hour you just spent recording the video how much time it can buy you on your social media? Well, we develop promotional graphics surrounding that long form piece of content. We develop short form videos. We call them snackable videos or bites. They're basically the highlight reels, the small clips that I'm sure so many of you guys see on, YouTube shorts, TikTok, Instagram reels, all that, great small video, bites of video content from your long form piece of content. We will create quote cards. So, a headshot of our client with a great quote that we pulled out from the episode to help further enhance maybe an edgy or cutting point that they made in their piece of long form content. So I mentioned the snackable videos, the bites, the quote cards, the social media graphics. We even throw a press release component into the mix so that we can have media outlets out there further legitimizing not just you, but your content series. So we're not just talking about social media content here. We're also talking about leveraging a real show, for lack of a better word, on your YouTube channel, on the podcasting platforms that exist out there, further kind of spreading your web of a term that we use at the agency sometimes, of your digital DNA, allowing you to show up in all these different places. So, Zach, going back to that word you mentioned and why Gary Vee has been able to be successful in leveraging the idea of repurposing content, well, that's because Gary Vee probably sat down and recorded an episode or a whatever, and then he repurposed it into a multitude or a suite of additional content that was rolled out over the course of maybe, let's say, a few weeks, a month, 2 months even, before it came time for Gary Vee to spend another hour or another 2 hours of his life sitting back down and recording the next piece of content. That right there, that is the key to repurposing and leveraging your time as a business owner. That way you're not sitting down for once a week even to do this. You're sitting down maybe once a month to record and watch the social media content flow out from there.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And look, here's the idea that I feel like I want people to walk away with as we kind of summarize all of this. Like, there's probably some main elements here on why you would want to hire a social media company to run your social media. Number one, if your primary goal is to build authority and thought leadership within your space to your target audience, and being targeted is a really important word on that, because when you are targeted, it's also cost effective. If you're trying to reach a wider audience and advertising and all that kind of stuff, you're going to spend a lot of money to do it. So that's one. Two is because as an authority in your field, when you are seen and recognized as that go-to expert, it changes your ability to be able to convert on the leads that you already have and to generate new ones, whether through referrals or people finding your content or finding you or whatever that might be. And I think primarily through all of this, and what Elevate and Accelerate is all about, is talking about you and your story. Like, as the business owner or as the entrepreneur, like, you have built this business on your own blood, sweat, and tears, right? And the reason why people are working with you is because they want to work with you. But as you mentioned, Ryan, just a moment ago, your time is valuable. And so being able to grow your business would then require more and more of your time. So how do you, as the business owner, get you out there without taking more of your time? And that repurposing and everything that you just talked about is a huge component of that, where now it's in your voice, it's your expertise, it's you, the person that people want to work with and want to hear from and want to and have been wanting to do that all along, who's also consistently doing that, not a marketing company who's just putting out content, and doing it over and over again just for the sake of staying at the top of a feed or whatever it might be. And so primarily, all of this is about how do you, as the business owner, benefit from being seen as authority, from building trust and credibility in your marketplace, and providing social media as another platform in which your audience can get to know you, like you, and trust you. And if those are your goals, and if you can see how that can impact your business positively, and really what I would like to say too is, I think that's the place to start. When you're a small and medium business owner, and like your time and your finances are limited, where do you put those? Building out your authority, building out your content, building out your brand is going to pay dividends for when you start advertising and when you start driving leads and when you start doing some of those other things that may cost a little bit more money, but give you that scalability. Because like everybody, what are you going to do once that lead finds you? They're going to land on your website. Well, if you're not an authority, if you don't look like somebody that they want to listen to, if you don't have the type of content that they want to engage with, they're going to be gone in a matter of seconds. So all of that plays into how you show up, is going to impact the amount of leads that you can even convert on through your advertising to begin with. It's why we see people like Grant Cardone, for example. Like, I get ads of his on Facebook all the time for like an event or whatever it might be. And he puts right on there, like, as seen on, as seen in, and, and all this other things that build out trust, right? His content, links to their content pages. It's like, it's constantly providing valuable content that their audience can engage with, which then leads to the next step of, if you found that valuable, maybe you should book a call with one of my salespeople, or so on and so forth. So it's just something I think that we can see has worked. all the way up here, it's not something that is inaccessible for you over here. It's something that you can create. And it doesn't mean you'll be the next Gary Vee or Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or Lisa Nichols or whoever it might be. You might not even want that goal. But it's how you can become that go-to celebrity expert, that authority within your particular market, which allows you to grow your business exponentially from that.
I love it. I mean, Zach, I think my key takeaway, or parting word to leave our audience with would be, when your social media is cranking posts out, make them count, make them have some value to them. Otherwise, you're not doing your brand favors. You want to provide value every single time a social media post goes out, whether it's telling somebody about an event that you're holding or a webinar, whether it's providing that insight into expertise and authority like we've been talking about today. Just make sure you're providing value, because when you provide value, the ripple effect of positivity throughout your business and for your audience, whether they're current, clients of yours or maybe prospects that you don't even know exist yet, man, can that just do wonders for your business. So just make sure you have value. And as we've seen, authoritative content and strategic content is the best way to really drive home your expertise and provide that value. So that's my final takeaway for our audience. And hopefully we left them with something to think about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time, Ryan. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, it was a pleasure talking with you and kind of just sort of unpacking some of these things and getting to hear what your thoughts are about it as you're in it day to day.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate it. And hopefully, if, as always, if anybody out there has any additional questions about this or wants to dig into it on a granular level for them and their business, you can always reach out to Zach and the team, and, happy to have a conversation with you, because, we're doing it for a lot of clients. We're seeing the success that exists, and, why not you?
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, Ryan. And thank you guys for listening. As always, hopefully you found some valuable content in here today, something that you can walk away with and start implementing in your business. And if you did, please like, subscribe, share with friends, family, anybody you think would be able to benefit from it as well. And until next time, keep elevating and accelerating.